Hey friends, Maria McCormick here. I'm excited to share with you what I've been doing recently to program out my addiction to coffee. I figured this might be relevant for some of you. I was developing this protocol as part of my upcoming coursework. I am redoing my Cleanse and Nourish Your Migraines Away course and calling it Repattern Migraine. And one of the suggestions I'm making in this course is to quit drinking coffee. And so I'm going to do a few videos in this series. The first video here will be why you would want to quit coffee in relationship to migraine, or if you're just someone who doesn't have migraine and you want to preserve your hormones and your blood sugar balance. And then I want to talk a little bit about thinking through whenever you're trying to reprogram something or change a behavior, really setting yourself up for success in using any NLP techniques. And in the further videos, we'll get into the actual reprogramming. So to start off, why would you want to stop drinking coffee, or why would I? Clearly, I was drinking coffee up until very recently, had a pretty moderate relationship with it. I drink a very small cup that's about this big. It's about half coffee and half organic raw milk with a little bit of maple syrup. And I do think that infusing my system with sugar in the morning like that isn't optimal, but we also know that caffeine raises cortisol, which is going to affect your blood sugar levels. And when your body is making cortisol, it's doing so at the expense of progesterone. If you've watched my previous videos, you'll understand the implications for this in migraine, since, as I've explained, the migraines that women get, especially menstrual migraines during their menstruation, are caused a lot, I believe, by a low progesterone state. So we want to preserve our progesterone, and in order to do that, we have to be gentle on our adrenal glands, and coffee doesn't help with that at all. There are other reasons why coffee is problematic. It's full of rancid oils. Many types of coffee are full of molds and funguses as well, which some people with migraine are sensitive to. And I do think that there are some health benefits to coffee, but overall, I think it's a net negative, especially for people with chronic health conditions. The tannins in coffee bind to B vitamins that people really, really need, and coffee is also acidifying. So how, in my case, am I going to program this out? Well, first of all, I need to think about whether I'm congruent with my goal or not. So sometimes people aren't successful in changing habits because they have an inner conflict, an inner incongruency between different parts of themselves, where one part of themselves really wants to change the behavior, but then this other part recognizes that there's certain benefits coming from the behavior. So if you're conflicted in that way, the likelihood that you're going to actually be successful in changing the outcome and changing the behavior is much lower, right? So you need to address the positive result that you're getting from the behavior that you want to change for other reasons, and you need to find a way to get that positive result or that benefit in another way. And there are separate techniques for doing that. But in this case with coffee, for me, I'm not conflicted about it. I would say my motivation level for change was at about a 5 until I started doing all this research into progesterone. So my motivation level is very high right now to change. So I don't have an inner conflict about it. So stopping coffee is something that I think that I should be able to accomplish. Normally, when we try to stop an addiction, we do so just by using willpower alone. And so the results aren't always that effective because we're not anticipating and thinking about some of the roadblocks that come up, or even what are the choice points, what are the places in our current behavior that we're trying to change, where we have the actual leverage to shift and change our behavior. And I'll talk about that in the next video. But before I do, there's one more consideration in designing behavior change that is really critical, which is to think about the ecological impacts of your behavior change. So if you are trying to bring in a new behavior or pattern, it's very valuable and important to think about the ecological impact. In other words, the impact on your lifestyle or on your relationships that might occur. And you need to do an inventory of, if I actually change this behavior, who will it impact? Because say, for example, if you wanted to have a new behavior of being more creative, and that would take a lot of time, or, if you wanted to exercise more, or do anything that was more time consuming, you need to think about, what will the impact on the family be? How will other members of your family react to and feel about this new behavior? So in my case, with the case of quitting coffee, There's not any anticipated ecological effects or impacts that me not drinking coffee will have, at least none that are negative. So there's no incongruency inside myself, and there's no ecological concerns that need to be addressed in order for me to move forward with this behavior. So in the next video, I'll teach you how I have reprogrammed my coffee addiction. Stay tuned for the next video.